We are accustomed to measuring the Tibetan Plateau by its freezing altitudes, its ancient glaciers, and its silent, immovable stone. We think of the rooftop of the world as a place of absolute cold. But beneath this frozen shell, something is running hot. We have explored the frozen peaks of Kailash, the silent observation mirrors of Olamolatso, the lost archives of Zhangjung, and the time-folding forests of Pomi. Every single location revealed a different layer of a hidden planetary architecture. But today, we descend into a valley that shatters the illusion of a cold, dead Earth. Welcome to Yangbajain. At first glance, science tells us this is simply a high-altitude geothermal field powered by tectonic plate friction. But as an investigator tracking the anomalous data of this region, I see something entirely different. These boiling springs, these roaring plumes of white steam bursting from the Earth, they are not natural accidents. They are exhaust ports. They are the thermal vents of a massive, hidden infrastructure operating directly beneath our feet. Why do we find this intense, violent heat concentrated precisely in this specific basin? Because any system processing massive amounts of data and energy requires a cooling mechanism. Think of the entire Tibetan Plateau as an enclosed, highly active computational core. We have already mapped its storage units in the lakes and its processing hubs in the ancient ruins. But a system of this scale generates an incredible amount of residual heat. If the core gets too hot, the entire local reality begins to glitch, leading to the kind of time loops and spatial anomalies we witnessed in Pomi. That is why Yangbajain exists. It is the planetary radiator. These boiling geysers and high-pressure steam vents act as a continuous pressure release valve, venting excess thermal and energetic waste from the deep Earth. The white steam you see rising into the sky isn't just water vapor. It is the physical manifestation of system-level cooling, an ongoing release of energy that prevents the entire plateau from overheating. To truly understand Yangbajain, we must look beyond the surface steam and trace the invisible pathways connecting it to the rest of the plateau. This thermal valley does not exist in isolation. It is a major node in a vast, subterranean thermal electric circuit that runs across the entire Himalayan belt. The superheated water and high-pressure gases erupting here are driven by deep geological pathways, conduits that tap directly into the mantle's energetic output. When we analyze the mineral composition and magnetic fluctuations around these vents, we find a repeating structural pattern, identical to the architectural layout of the ancient sites we have visited before. The Earth here is wired. It transmits raw data and thermal feedback across hundreds of miles, stabilizing the tectonic and energetic pressure of the entire region. The steam we see is merely the visible exhaust of a silent, planet-wide machine that never sleeps. For centuries, travelers and locals have visited these hot springs, claiming an inexplicable sense of physical rejuvenation and mental clarity after bathing in the mineral-rich waters. Science attributes this to sulfur and heat. But our investigation points to a much deeper structural mechanism. When you step into these thermal pools, you aren't just soaking in warm water. You are stepping directly into a leakage zone of the system's baseline frequency. The energy bubbling up from the deep Earth carries a raw, unfiltered pulse, the heartbeat of the planetary machinery. When human biological tissue interacts with this high-frequency thermal discharge, your body's cellular electrical activity is forcibly synchronized with the Earth's core processing rhythm. It clears out the cognitive static of daily life, but it also exposes you to a raw data stream that your nervous system was never designed to handle. That is why prolonged exposure here leaves people feeling hollow, dizzy, or profoundly disoriented. You are absorbing the waste energy of an intelligence far greater than your own. The danger of Yangbajain lies not in its physical temperature, but in its psychological impact on anyone who stays too long. As the mineral steam envelops your senses, the high-density energetic radiation begins to interface with your neurological pathways. Visitors often report vivid, lucid dreams, strange auditory echoes of machinery, or a sudden, overwhelming sense of detachment from their own memories. This is because the thermal zone acts as a cognitive friction field. It strips away the superficial layers of your personal identity, forcing your brain to process raw sensory input without its usual psychological filters. You are standing in a place where the barrier between human consciousness and the planetary network thins to a razor's edge. If your internal focus is not absolute, the background noise of the system will rewrite your thoughts, leaving you trapped in an echo chamber of planetary feedback. Look closely at the forgotten edges of this valley, where the commercial installations end and the raw terrain begins. Here, concrete pillars and fractured foundations stand like the broken terminals of an ancient switchboard. These aren't just remnants of early industrial experiments. They mark the physical boundary points where the planetary data network attempts to interface directly with the surface crust. The mineral crusts and high-pressure steam outputs are merely the hardware error logs of a system struggling to maintain stability under human observation. When you stand among these silent ruins, you realize that the valley is not just venting heat, it is actively broadcasting an endless sequence of low-frequency telemetry data into the atmosphere. The air itself is dense with unrendered information, waiting for a conscious observer to tune in, decode the background pulse, and accept the absolute finality of the system's baseline parameters. In recent decades, modern civilization has tried to harness this raw power, building massive power plants and laying miles of metal pipes across the valley to capture the steam and convert it into electricity. We call it green energy. But in the grand design of the plateau, interfering with the cooling system carries a severe system cost. When you cap a thermal vent, when you force a natural exhaust port to serve human industrial grids, you disrupt the pressure equilibrium of the subterranean network. The energy has to go somewhere. If the primary radiator is restricted, the excess heat begins to pool into adjacent tectonic zones, causing localized microseismic shifts and unpredictable atmospheric fluctuations. We think we are mastering the Earth by tapping its heat, but we are actually tampering with a cooling mechanism we barely understand. We are sticking a straw into a planetary exhaust pipe, playing with a fire that was never meant to be switched on for our convenience. Standing at the edge of the Yangbajain basin, watching the endless columns of steam rush into the freezing upper atmosphere, you realize how fragile our existence truly is. We live on a thin, cooled crust, floating above an active, roaring machine. The heat never stops. The system never rests. Every puff of white smoke is a reminder that the Earth is constantly working, constantly calculating, and constantly venting the pressure of its hidden burdens.